start where it says minimal management effort or service provider. Okay. Any doubts on this definition, Shankar? Hello?
Yeah, it's clear.
It's clear. Okay, Yasin, clear?
Yasin has left.
Oh, Yasin has left, is it? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay.
This audio quality is not.
His audio quality. Who else is on the call? Hello? Hello? I think only two people. So somebody else is on the call. Yeah, three people. Two people.
Suresh. Yeah.
Is Suresh on the call? Hello? I don't think I. Hello? No, he's not on the call. Hello?
He put mic on the whole. Yeah.
Is on mute.
Yeah, I followed. Okay, so that is we have the cloud computing here, and then I don't know if Yasin is going to join back or not. I think the problem is with his machine sensors because it's also disturbing others. Now it's very clear,
Yeah.
right? My voice, like it has been. Have you
Yeah.
been,
Now for us, yeah, for me it's clear.
yeah. Okay. So now going to the types of the cloud, there is classified into public, private, and hybrid. Okay. A public cloud is something like an AWS manages an organization and which is open to public access. Okay, that is a public cloud. A private cloud means a cloud that virtualizes and distributes infrastructure only for a single organization. Okay, that is, for example, a big company like MasterCard can have their own cloud and they can set up a model, but then to achieve the same level of efficiencies within such a cloud will be very difficult. Now, the bulk of the things are like hybrid model where you have your own data centers, like for banks, okay, like Lloyds Bank, and the most secure information, say for instance, credit card data, they would like to keep it within their own infrastructure. Okay, they don't want to take it to the cloud. Okay, and then you actually like connect it with public cloud like an AWS or a GCP, and then like you can go over it. Okay, all right, Shankar. Hello. Yeah,
Yeah. So
Shankar.
public cloud means like anyone can access the data from that.
No, anyone can access the services provided by the cloud.
Like a
Okay.
open source network, right?
Yeah, for instance, if you want to create a machine with a Ubuntu operating system on it, you should be able to sign into them, okay, by over internet, okay, and then you should be able to create one for yourself. But of course, you shouldn't be able to see someone else's uh, local data,
Yeah.
okay, someone else's account, and then try to do something funny on it. That is not what it means by public cloud. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got it right, Shankar? Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only the
Same as
services that it
GitHub, right?
offers, the services that it offers, like example, provisioning a load balancer behind 4 instances, you can easily do it. You got it?
Yeah. For example, this whether BBC website, like if you are hosting the BBC
Yeah,
website on.
yeah. You are able to access the bbc.co.uk,
Yeah.
and then you are able to read the news.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you are able to access AWS, assuming you have paid for it. You can access any of the services that it provides. Okay, and
Yeah.
anybody can do it. AWS doesn't restrict anybody from using their services as long as they are willing to pay.
Yeah.
Whereas private clouds, they were not open to it. They are not going to take it. A hybrid cloud is something where it has a mixture of public and private. Okay. Now AWS is a public cloud. Okay. All right. Clear.
Okay.
So these are
Yeah.
the types of clouds. Now these are the buzzwords in the industry, but it's also very important what the service level classifications are. Okay. So we have infrastructure as a service, we have platform as a service, and we have software as a service. Okay. Now infrastructure as a service means virtual machines, networks, load balancers, everything can be provisioned by service. And along with this infrastructure as a service, there is something called as infrastructure as code. Okay. Where, for example, you are writing a Terraform, you are provisioning the entire infrastructure. That means you are saying to AWS, hey, I want 3 instances. Okay. Hey, I want one load balancer. And I want one of this one. Okay. You are providing it, that is infrastructure as code. The platform as a service means Heroku, Elastic Beanstalk, Opsworks. you have your custom web app, okay, but you want to deploy it onto an infrastructure, okay. Now, AWS not only provides the infrastructure, it can also provide you, for example, Elastic Beanstalk. You can say that I want a complete Spring Boot environment, okay, because my application is using Spring Boot, and then I want a completely configured Oracle database, okay. So I want a platform already available. That means I don't want to go to Oracle. I don't want to first take a machine from you, but then I don't want to again say that I want to install Spring Boot, I want to install Tomcat, I want to install MySQL Server, something like that. I want the platform ready, okay? And I have developed code, and now I want to deploy it. Okay, is this aspect very clear? Okay, this is very important distinction. Even I was a little bit confused with this platform as a service. Shankar, clear?
Yeah.
Abhi?
Yes, sir.
Abhi, is it clear?
Yeah, it's clear now.
Okay. Now, software as a service is basically they are providing you the software. Okay, you're not developing the software like Microsoft Office 365, Salesforce, Amazon Workspaces, and they're also providing you the infrastructure in which you are going to run their programs on. You got it? Hello? Yeah? Now, AWS portfolio involves IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Software as a service, I don't know which of those services fall under those categories. Yeah, and so they go. Now let us go through a very important, this is very where the things become interesting, where we actually, because we are all worked in the industry, we'll be able to appreciate these use cases better. Okay? So for instance, hosting a web app. Hello? Alright? Now, if I look at this diagram, is this diagram very clear? Hello? Is this diagram very clear? Can you see this diagram?
Yeah. We are able to clear.
Yeah.
Shankar, can you see this?
Yeah, I
Okay,
can
so
see.
without the AWS help, this is a simple web app that is hosted on-premise. It has a web server and it has a database. Okay, and it is a web shop. Okay. Now this web shop has become very popular. Instead of 500 users per day, they are now getting thousands of users. They are expecting hundreds of thousands of users. That is how popular it has become. Okay. Now, if you were to be using your own infrastructure, what would you do, Shankar? Hello.
Set up a server.
Yeah, you will increase the number of servers. You will
Yeah.
have to go about buying up the server. Okay.
Yeah.
You will have to set up multiple database instances, and to maintain the multiple database instances, you
We
need
used to
database
workforce.
administrator.
Yeah,
You need,
workforce. Yeah.
right, Shankar, agree? Hello?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Shankar agreed, right? Yeah. So how can AWS help? We'll go through the services in detail. Database can be moved into relational database service. It is a fully managed service. Okay, means time to time OS level patching. Okay, upgrades to the database software itself, which take the bulk of the time in employing it. They're all managed for you for a fee by relational database service. Okay. Now, the website itself can be used to pay. There is an object store which is by far the cheapest alternative anywhere in the world. Okay, S3 bucket. Okay, it is cheapest and it is very fast. Bandwidth and latency in terms of it is very fast. You can take advantage of it. Okay, DNS service. You know those who have set up DNS service on Linux, we know how painful it is. You have to go through several different config files in order to actually have a complete DNS server running. Okay. Now in AWS, it is fully managed. You don't have to worry about your DNS servers going down. AWS will take care of you. If their DNS servers go down, your IP addresses will be automatically switched for you behind the scenes without you being aware of anything. Okay. So before I move on to the second point, guys, did you understand the solution from AWS, Shankar? Hello?
Yeah, we understood.
Shankar?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is where the AWS comes into picture. Now the number of users have to be there. So you can easily split the content into static and dynamic content. That is something that you have to do. And then we can use Amazon CloudFront to store our static content. Now it will, as everybody knows, when you cache a static content, the performance improves leaps by leaps and bounds. Agreed? Shankar agreed, right? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So Amazon CloudFront comes to our rescue. Now, scaling, we can host multiple instances, and believe it or not, guys, you don't have to, like, based on the traffic, somebody doesn't have to sit there and, monitor it. We can fully automate the, like, for instance, if the 100,000 users come, I want the number of instances to grow to 10 during the peak hour. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when the number of when the traffic drops down to say 5,000 or 10,000 users, I would like to bring down to 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you are a really good infrastructure developer and you know how to code it, this entire solution can be automated using what is called as an auto scaling group. And they can all go behind a load balancer. And once the infrastructure is set up, it works like magic. Not only does that, when some of the servers go down because of the lack of physical space or memory, AWS will automatically bring up those other launch instances in place to give a replacement in a matter of seconds. Okay? So while it is not fully fault tolerant, it is highly available. The difference between fault tolerant is there is no disruption to the service even for a second or even for a second. Now, highly available means for a few seconds, the service might have some degradation of performance or might be unavailable, but will be back within a matter of seconds. Now the SLAs, AWS provides what those SLAs are, and they are very fast for EC2 and load balancing. Okay. Now the DNS service, we have already gone through it. Route 53 and fully managed by AWS. Okay. Shankar, do you appreciate how the AWS has solved this problem?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we have an RDS which is fully managed. That means no OS level patching, no routing backups, everything automated by it. Okay, all that you have to tell is in the maintenance windows completely backed up. Okay, so you don't have to employ hundreds of 10 or 4 or 5 DBAs to do all this routing. Completely automated for you. Next, content can be split behind the static and the dynamic content and then be cached using the content delivery network using the Amazon CloudFront. You got it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And then hosted on multiple using auto scaling groups behind the load balancer and this one. Okay, so let us look at the diagram how it is. Can you look at this diagram?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the traffic comes over the internet, DNS resolves it, your content is static and dynamic. Okay, now the static content is served by CDN. Okay, if it requires a new page that has not been served before, as any of you know what a caching solution is, it will go and get that from the object store here. And these object stores are very inexpensive storage devices. Okay, and they are very resilient in the sense, like object storage is actually backed by thousands of machines. So by nature, they are fault tolerant. Like you have a service level of 99.99%. That is what the AWS guarantees. Okay. And even for that 0.1%, you can actually set up a replication or a failover, which we will do it as part of setting up the S3 bucket. Okay. We'll set up versioning. Okay. So that if you want a previous copy of it, you can actually go back to the previous version of it, and it's done all through the programmatic interface. Then we can globally replicate it in the sense, like if you are afraid that one particular data center might go down, you can easily move it to American Europa goes down. Then you can move it to Asia Pac. You can replicate it, and you can replicate it also to the America. And it's all once you learn the skills, it's quite you can easily set up all this, and you can automate it. Okay, that's where the skill of the AWS DevOps engineer comes. Okay, automate this for you. Database fully provisioned, load balancer easy to set up, no need for the complex Nginx rules, no need for complex Apache rules. Okay, all the load balancers, and then we can provision a load balancer, we can configure a load balancer completely using infrastructure as code, either using Terraform or CloudFront. Okay, clear, Shankar? Clear, Abhijit, with this?
Yeah, I'm clear.
Yeah.
Now, We'll take up another case.